Ladies and gentlemen, I feel that in 2010, the election that we're going to have is probably the most important election in our lifetimes. And I say this because what happens, or the outcome of that election, whether good or bad, is essentially going to affect our lives for decades afterwards. My name is Scott Stump, and I want to be the person to help you all and work together to take our country back, which I feel like we have lost. I first of all want to thank you, Matthew, for allowing me to join the debate, as well as the Young Americans for Liberty. Where were you guys 20 years ago when I needed you? When I was in college, I would have loved to have had an
I was 5, sorry.
Yeah. Where are you from? I'm just going to leave now. But I also want to take a moment, too, of my time. I wanted for us to remember, too, for anybody that this might have gotten past you, today is the 68th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. And I think it bears mentioning to the people that lost their lives at the beginning of an event that changed and shaped our culture and our lives ever since then. So I would be remiss without mentioning that. Folks, I'm not going to get into a lot of issues tonight. I think we'll try to get into that here on the debating part. But I think I want to go over 3 things I think are going to be important to you. I want to let you know a little bit about who I am, why I'm compelled to run for office, and then a little bit about my core philosophies, what I stand for, how I do things. I live over in Haywood County with my wife Robin, who's up there in the red shirt there and the cover up, and my son Scotty and my daughter Emmy. I've been in the financial services industry for 17 years, cover your ears, Matthew. And prior to that, I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was an infantryman, and I served, highlights of service were in Desert Shield, Desert Storm back in 1990 and 1991. Why do I want to represent the 11th District? Well, really there's 3 main reasons. The first is that there's an absolute and complete disconnect between Washington and we the people. For some reason, these people up there, they get in there and they feel like they're driving the agenda, that we work for them instead of them working for us. It's unacceptable. That's not the way that things are supposed to be run. Secondly, we deserve better. As a district, we deserve better. I don't know about anybody else in the room, but I get really sick and tired of holding my breath every time an important vote comes up on the floor, wondering whether our best interests are going to be represented or whether San Francisco's best interests are going to be represented. Don't get me wrong now. San Francisco needs their wishes granted also, but their value system, as Ed had mentioned, a little bit different than ours. Unfortunately, our blue dog is nothing more than a lap dog right in Nancy Pelosi's lap. Folks, this is not San Francisco. This is Western North Carolina. Big difference. And the third reason why I'm compelled to run for office is the future. I am absolutely positively concerned about our future. I feel that everybody, all of our children and grandchildren, you students included, you all have the same right to have the opportunities that every one of us up on this stage has had growing up. And that opportunity is to be and achieve and pursue whatever you want to be. As long as you're willing to work hard for it, you ought to be able to have that opportunity afforded to you. And I feel like that is not happening. I feel like the window of opportunity is closing, and we need to change that. This country is built on opportunity and a person being able to be whatever they wanted to be, and that has got to change and to turn around. Well, what am I going to do about this situation? Well, the Republican Party has let us all down, every one of us in this room who is a conservative or Republican. And they did that by straying from their core conservative values. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a conservative first and a Republican second. I will never compromise my conservative values, just as my integrity, never negotiable, never going to put those in jeopardy. I stand tall and proud of those, and I don't apologize to anybody for those beliefs. I believe in financial responsibility and accountability. I don't believe in spending money like a drunken sailor, money we don't have, and then expecting somebody to pick up the bill for that, namely our children and our grandchildren. And if we keep going, folks, it's going to wind up being our great-grandchildren. They're going to be picking up the bill. Interesting statistic. Just the act of being born in this country right now, a baby is born into this country in $125,000 worth of debt. That's their share of the national debt. That is absolutely a crime, and it needs to change. We've got to get financial accountability back. It's out of control, and it has been for quite a while. And thirdly, I believe in a little thing called the Constitution. I would base all of my decisions and any of my votes upon the Constitution. It would be my bedrock and my guiding light with everything that I do. You know, folks, it's really simple. You don't get into trouble when you stray away from the Constitution. When you start trying to make things up and go your own way, that's kind of when things go awry. The Constitution would be my guiding light through all of the decisions that I make. Now, you know, as far as the Constitution goes, in keeping with that, you know, it gets a little bit tiring when you see these lawyers, no offense, Ed, you see these lawyers up in Congress arguing over what's right and what's wrong. I heard somebody say earlier, we know what's right and what's wrong. You know, why don't they? That's my question. And to sum it up and to wrap it up, just so you know a little bit about me and the way that I approach things, there's really two quotes that succinctly kind of key in on my decision making, what I stand for, and how I handle things. First quote is from Dr. Seuss. Anybody heard of Dr. Seuss? You know, the guy who wrote Cat in the Hat. Dr. Seuss said, "Be who you are and say what you feel, because those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind." And the second quote is from General George Marshall, who, as you know, ran the Army in World War II and later crafted the Marshall Plan in the late 40s. General Marshall said, "I mean exactly what I say. There's no use trying to read between the lines because there's nothing there to read." Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention, and thank you for having me allowing me to be here.
Last but not least, Mr. Kenneth West.